Jenkins, Harden,
Yeah.
Han,
Here.
McKinley,
Yes.
Pearl.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Hardesty has a proclamation for us. Love to hear from him, please.
You want me to give it to you?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, all right. In October of 2013, Farmer City received the Member Generation Award for the IMEA. And the state of Illinois has recognized Farmer City for their achievement in receiving that award. And I'll read this to you. It says, from the 98th General Assembly, House of Representatives acknowledges Farmer City in recognition of earning the 2013 Illinois Municipal Electric Agency Generating Member of the Year Award and joins in the commemoration of the effort, dedication, and the hard work that led to the success, and further expresses its best wishes for the personal happiness and professional achievement offered by Representative Bill Mitchell and signed by Michael Madigan and Timothy Maples, clerk of the House. So I'll present this to you from the state of Illinois.
Thank you, sir.
The achievement of what the power plant has done for 2013, and this kind of tops off our 125th anniversary year for the power plant. So,
Well, thank you. You run a first-rate organization, and thank you very much for all the work you do.
thank you.
Really appreciate it. All right. First up, we have Bill Spencer from Watch. Regional Solid.
Start the projector, it's probably gonna blind your eyes.
Where are you from, Phil?
Kenny.
Kenny?
Yep, Southern County. Give it a few seconds, come on.
And what organization are you with?
It's Watch.
Watch?
Watch. This is a presentation about garbage, is what I'm gonna start with. Illinois has laws in place that are supposed to be followed in regards to solid waste management in each county. There's 102 counties in the state of Illinois. One of the options that the counties have is to do regional solid waste, and that is occurring some places in the state of Illinois already. DeWitt County currently does not have, they started out as a regional plan in 1995, and then they broke away from that regional plan in 95 and went on their own. What Watch is wanting to promote is a regional solid waste plan, and this is something that is going to involve multiple counties. So we've already went and talked to some of the counties, and they have an interest in this. And they're virtually the same people that are currently working with DeWitt County right now. One way or another, you know, the waste that we're all handling is regional within our area. So this is just a way to formalize that relationship, is what it comes down to. I had this off and then turned it back on. Maybe it's locked up on me. Might have to reboot it. Start it over again.
While you're doing that, if you don't mind, why don't we move on to the next,
Okay.
then we'll come back to you after this next one. Just in the interest of time. Ben is next one up.
I don't know if you guys read the Constitution this week. There was it mentioned that I was getting an easement, purchasing an easement for $10,000 from Millennium. So when I talked to David Holt about where he came up with the easement part at, he said it was in his ordinance. That's when it's on mine. So when I read off to him what was in my ordinance, it was a different item. So what he has in his is the city, or William has given me a easement of 24 feet. The one that the ordinance I had picked up said I was actually doing the purchasing of the $10,000 for the 32 feet. So so since you can't really have two ordinances with the same number with different information,
Right.
so you can, probably the only way you can really do that would be to strike it and then re-vote on it with the new number. Because I'm just kind of worried that having two versions of the same ordinance out there could cause more issues later on. And I also included the two full versions as a paperclip to it, so you can kind of get more information.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the legality end of it, so if there's something we need to have our attorneys get together and make sure that you're happy, that's our main
The
concern.
first one was pulled before the meeting ever started, and the other was in its place according to the deal that you and
Right,
Dalbert
yeah.
came up together with. So,
Yeah, but somehow.
but we can talk to our lawyers. And find out. I don't
Somehow,
know.
yeah, David got a hold of that and
Well, that's what was
Right.
passed out as the approved ordinance after the fact.
Okay.
But both of them are
It's
marked.
not, no, we shredded those before.
No, no, you didn't.
I'm sorry, it's not your turn to talk. You can talk in a minute when it's your turn. But that was removed from, at least it was removed from our table, and we were given a new one.
Yeah.
But we will talk to our attorney and find out.
And I had emailed my attorney today too
Good.
to let him know that this is coming. So we're originally gonna have the closing tomorrow, so we'll just have to hold off on that until this guy gets worked out.
Yeah, we'll Larry, talk to our attorney and.
Are you happy with your agreement?
No, I'm not happy.
Were you happy, the way I understand
No,
it?
it was acceptable. All the agreements given to me, they were all bad. This was the only one that was close enough to being, in a way, because how the other ones were worded, just, they were all easements the other way. I was also
So
kind of.
you want to squelch the deal?
I was pretty much told that this deal's going through no matter what.
No, it was already voted upon.
No, I mean, before that, I was pretty much told it was going to get through no
I
matter
don't know
what.
who told you that.
The mayor?
It was voted upon on what we received the other day that you agreed to,
No,
your
that's-
mother agreed
Yeah,
to.
no, I mean,
Now, is that you're wanting to disregard that now?
no, but I'm just
Tell
saying.
me what you want.
What I'm trying to say was, I was pretty much kind of told that this deal was going to go through no matter what, to pick out a deal.
Well, that's not true.
Okay. My understanding of that was this deal was going to go through. And I had to try.
I don't know who told you that. Who told you that?
The mayor.
I can tell you right now that Pat Pearl was not going to go for it unless you were happy.
Okay.
And the vote for that came on a Sunday afternoon with the meeting between you,
Yeah.
Dan Dalbert, your mother was there,
Yeah, towards the
everything
end.
was agreed upon,
Yeah.
so I was told.
Yeah.
That's what we voted on.
Okay, I'm just saying that you have two different versions out there. I will still go with the 10,000.
We don't have two different versions. We have the version that was voted upon, that you and Dan and your mother talked about on a Sunday evening.
Yeah, and I still go with that.
Then
And
we're,
my concern is, at least one person at least got a copy that's a little different. My concern is, what would another lawyer do if they see there's two with the same number?
that shouldn't be a problem.
We'll talk to our lawyer, because
That's-
we all received that first one
Okay.
in Friday in our packets. Then that was, we were told to destroy that one, and then the new one was given to us on
Who
Monday.
told us to destroy it? Because I never heard that.
I don't,
Who told you to destroy it?
Maybe I just assumed that we should destroy it, I don't know.
I never heard anything about destroying anything. I saw that was on the table tonight when I came in here,
Okay,
and I don't know what the hell's going on about the whole thing. But, of course, I wasn't gonna vote for it anyway. But I was never told to destroy the first one I had.
I said, what is this? And they said, this is the new one, get rid of the old one. I'm sorry, get rid of was the words I was told. So anyway, regardless, we can't answer this here tonight, so
No.
we will talk to our lawyers. And see if we
And
can-
this is things, I'm gonna talk as a city council person. You're wanting to bring legality, I'm not a lawyer.
No, I'm not trying to bring legality against you guys, I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm just saying, I found there's 2 copies, I just would like to get it cleared up. Sure.
That's a
We
valid
all
question.
want it cleared
Yeah,
up. It's
that's-
been going on
yeah.
for months.
Right.
And that's a valid
And I'm
question.
really,
That's
I'm
a
really
valid
tired of it myself. I was hoping that this would be done, get on with it, we'd be fine.
All the same.
Have you brought this up to Larry, that this needs to be changed?
I just found out about it a few hours ago.
Lynn, I'd like to ask you a question on $10,000. Why were you led to believe that you had to pay $10,000 for that?
Because that's the only because I was pretty much kind of told, I'm going to take an offer. That's the only offer. At one point, they had offered it, that I had taken an offer. All the other offers were basically easements, where they get to use the property, I had all the legal responsibilities. This is the only one that would allow me to have actually my property.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, go ahead, maybe you need to phrase it.
if the street was going to be vacated and it was going to be, and as your attorney pointed out that night at that hearing of the Legion, he said it splits down the middle. You get half,
Mhm.
Square gets half.
I
Why,
was-
why were they coming after your half and saying it was theirs?
Because according to them, they're saying the city doesn't own the street. They'll own the street because they own Herrick's plat that's on the other side. Apparently, that part of my yard used to be part of the Herrick's addition. So when the street came in, so when you get rid of the street, they're saying that part goes over to them. My lawyer said we can't fight it because it's going to cost too much to fight against Schwartz. So he said this would be the cheaper option.
So it was something that goes back when the Herrick addition was brought into the community and everything,
Yeah.
and annexed in, so to speak.
Mhm.
Something about, maybe it wasn't, there was something I agreed upon. I've heard something about that.
You'd have to talk to David about more about that.
Because, yeah, and if, I guess I look at it as, if it was 140-some years ago that this was all done, and we've maintained the street
Yeah.
for 140-some years, I guess I could say that it's ours by,
Yeah. Yeah, now, if you guys would have given me that corner, that 1/4 of the road, right from the beginning, we would have never had to go through any of this. But we were being told that city was gonna do a straight swap, so that whole street, that whole section, was being swapped out for that land and done.
Okay, has there been anything signed? Have you signed anything?
No, nothing's been signed.
No agreement signed?
It's supposed to be happening tomorrow. But then this came up, so I just emailed the lawyer today and said, we need to hold off on this for a little bit.
I'd say that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Mhm. I have any more questions for you about that.
So you guys want to start with Charlie?
Yeah, I
Any
think
questions? All right, sorry about your knees there. Go ahead.
Okay. This is the purpose of the Illinois Solid Waste Plan. Waste reduction, employment opportunities, public safety, water protection, and recycling commodities. And this is based off the laws in the state of Illinois, and it's promoted. There are the things they want you to promote with it. Why do we need a joint regional plan? Okay, Illinois law started out that it was individual counties. Later on, they began to promote multi-county regional plans through intergovernmental agreements. The counties will actually do the intergovernmental agreements, but the municipalities are the ones that have the highest population and the highest waste generation. So you're going to see things occur that are going to affect municipalities more, but yet the counties are the ones that are going to go into the agreement. There's a lot of concerns when it comes to handling waste within a region or even a county. You have your trucks that are traveling across the roads, so you're breaking your roads down. You have open dumps, you're doing landfilling that you kind of have to continually do. The plan is really geared to give us recycling and not have to have a lot of landfills. And this is all part of the state of Illinois promoting this over a long period of time. It started out 1995. Part of the program is the EPA is supposed to review the solid waste management plans for each county. And every 5 years, those plans are reviewed again. And that includes recycling, handling household hazardous waste in your community, any type of stuff. I'll go through a few more of the waste and stuff they're talking here. But the plan is actually, waste prevention is the highest level, preparing for reuse, recycling, recovery, and disposal is supposed to be the least. So landfilling is supposed to be the least one that we're supposed to be using in the counties. We're supposed to be moving in that direction. It's controlled by 3 laws in the state of Illinois: Solid Waste Management Act, the Solid Waste Planning and Recycling Act, and the Environmental Protection Act. There's also other agencies in the state of Illinois other than the EPA that are actually in charge of this. They have grants and money to promote for jobs and employment and stuff in the state of Illinois. Some of the things you've seen that have already occurred over the years is yard waste in 1990 was no longer allowed in landfills. Lead acid batteries weren't, tires, white goods, refrigerators and stuff had to be scrapped. Used oil couldn't no longer go into landfills. Electronic products, mercury thermostats. So you can see, even over the years, they've banned stuff from landfills directly that have to be recycled. Illinois set a hierarchy for how waste is handled in the state of Illinois. Volume reduction is the #1 thing that you want to look for, recycling and reuse. The next thing they want you to do is burn the garbage with energy recovery, if possible, for electrical generation. The next one is combustion for reduction. And then the last thing they're supposed to be able to do is disposal at landfill facilities. And the solid waste plans that we would develop would go in that direction. But like I said, the municipalities are the ones that are going to be affected mostly by this, even though counties actually signed the agreement. We've got these counties around us right now that are using the Clinton facility here in DeWitt County. McLean and Macon County both have small landfills. Logan County has no landfill, Piatt has no landfill, and Champaign has no landfill. So these people are actually in a regional plan, you could say, but it's just not formally right now. And they're all willing to talk to us about long-term planning and stuff for the community. They're willing to do that. Some of the things that we're looking for is the future of what DeWitt County is going to do and waste itself. And if we apply all these things that we're looking at in the future and stuff, we're going to be gaining ground in the long run instead of just not following these plans, going into these plans and planning it out. It'll generate jobs, money, and things like that, and we won't have to deal with the problems that you get out of landfills and stuff that could contaminate our water. And that's one of the main things that the state of Illinois is looking at is what the true cost is in the long run for doing this type of stuff. If you have problems with landfills leaking, which most of them are in Illinois, there's money to be lost later on down the road. And right now, if we turn around and we do recycling and stuff, we possibly could be ahead. Municipalities can charge money for doing this work. Right now, it's in the hands of a private owner, and he goes around and collects the waste in the county, and we're kind of susceptible to whatever he charges us. And then that waste goes into a landfill. If we can actually recycle and not put stuff in the landfill for either the same money or less, it would make a lot more sense. And that would put it more in the government's hands and less in private business that is only out there trying to make a buck off of waste disposal. And most of the counties in Illinois have all shifted away from private waste handling to going back to the government doing it. And waste handling is fairly new. 1960s, 1950s is when we actually escalated in the amount of waste we were generating. And the county governments, because of the EPA going into effect in the 70s, we moved away from the government actually managing the waste in our communities, and they went to private companies doing it. So we're seeing a reverse in that right now. And to do that, a regional solid waste plan would be a logical approach for us to do that, so.
Now, are you along with the county board on this, or is this a separate
Well,
organization, or?
Watch is a organization that's been concerned about the landfill in Clinton,
Okay,
and we're looking for other options in the long run, what we can do.
along with the county, is that?
Yes, yes.
And you're working with the county on this?
Yes, yeah, the county board members are aware that we're doing this. I wanted to kind of get ahead of the curve on this and talk to municipalities in the county, because like I said, you guys are really the ones that are going to feel the effects of the regional solid waste plan. You're going to be involved in it. There's going to be recycling containers, there may be jobs that are generated in your community and stuff like that that are going to be tied to it. And a good understanding of that to start with is important. As far as who's going to generate this plan, we're probably, if we get 5 or 6 counties that are involved in it, there's going to have to be representatives from each county that are going to be involved, and they're going to have to put a committee together, and they're going to have to build a regional solid waste plan, and they're going to talk about recycling. Recycling centers open up, and people, picking up the waste in the communities, recycling bins being put up, and that's not going to be done out in the country. That's going to be done in the municipalities, obviously, is where it's going to be at. So I want to try to sell this to the municipalities first, so they've got a good idea of what they're getting into. The counties, I've touched base with a few people here and there, but until I do the presentations at the counties, the other counties and stuff too. And there's going to be other groups and stuff that are going to work with Watch doing this. It's a major thing to actually take something on this big, and it's going to take a number of months to get these agreements, pushed forward and get them written and stuff like that. So I don't know which county's going to take the lead, because they're all equal to each other in this. Champaign's the biggest, has the highest, population and stuff like that. Their position is they don't want landfills.
McLean, I'm sure they're very conservative also.
Yes. And, Chicago's in a situation, they don't allow landfills. And they're still trying to remove waste from their communities. They're trying to use a solid waste plan. But, that's one of the issues. You can only push it so far away from you. And everybody starts pushing, and where are you going to push all this garbage to, we're getting into a garbage battle is what we're getting into. And it'd be better for us to deal with our own waste within our own community. And if we're a small county, we kind of get picked on. But if we get a few more counties together and get ourselves in a group, we've got a little bit of protection as a group too. So that's one of the issues of going into a regional plan. And everybody's got to go into it with open eyes. If I go down south, there's 2 or 3 counties down there that have one. They run their own landfill that's owned by the 3 counties. And their comment is, the waste that comes into our community is our waste. We don't allow any waste from outside of our community and stuff like that. So they deal with their waste on a one-on-one basis with their community and their citizens and stuff. Clinton is not doing that. We actually are turning into a real large mega landfill is what we're actually doing, and drawing all the waste in. And as long as that process keeps following, you're going to dig a bigger hole, you're going to put more garbage in, dig a bigger hole, put more garbage. Well, the state of Illinois is trying to not do that. They don't want to encourage that, because in the long run, you're still just making big mega landfills is what you're going to do. And if they're not really controlled too good, they have leakage, we don't know what's going in them. We have to look at our manufacturing facilities. What type of waste are we producing in our manufacturing facilities? Each waste needs to be identified, and then a plan needs to be addressed for that. So if a company comes in, like ADM or something, wants to dispose of certain types of waste, this group needs to work with ADM to dispose of that waste, so those jobs are still there. And they apply these principles to it, which could be waste reduction. Can we kill your waste so you don't even produce it in your factory to begin with? Is there things that do that, or can we make it less hazardous or whatever? Can we recycle it somewhere? That's what this group is supposed to be working on. So we keep jobs, we keep people working, and we deal with our waste, within our community, and not just take it out to a landfill, dump it in a hole someplace, and hope it doesn't give us any problems. So.
Well, thank you. Sounds like you can keep us informed.
Okay, thank you.
Up next, Mrs. Alger.
Okay, I got one question that's been avoided for months. Does the city own West Street?
I assume we gain control over West Street. We have a city easement there.
Yeah. Well, I always thought you owned it too, but I'm just asking for the simple reason is that question's been avoided, just because the simple reason that if you guys own it, you do have to give half of it to Lynn and half of it to Schwartz if you shut down. But with all these paperwork, you're just vacating the right of way. It doesn't really state that you guys own it.
I would say the taxpayers own it is what I would say, but I'm not a lawyer.
Taxpayers of the city. I mean, that's, the city is the people of the town.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
To me, you guys own it, but that's just my opinion for 150 years. But you can't get anybody else to say that because, you know, like the lawyer said, if you close it or vacate it, then you have to give half to each homeowner. And there's few people that do not want you guys to admit that you own it. That way it has to go through Schwartz. And I see no reason to go through Schwartz. I never did.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more
Oh,
information. I'm sure that Mr. Holt will have plenty of information for us though on the answers, so I don't have any more for you.
You know, to me, it's just.
Not being an attorney,
I
I'm just
know.
going by what they tell us.
I'm just letting you know what I'm saying.
No, I appreciate that.
Feeling. And the thing of it is like, it's only 3 feet difference. If you guys give them the land instead of going through Schwartz, it's 35 feet or 32 feet, you know, it doesn't really make.
And this is, as a council person, I'm nothing to do with lawyers here.
I know, but I can't.
I'm just saying, if you're not happy with it, don't sign it. That's all I can say.
Well, I just wanted to explain the concerns. It's like, why does it need to go, the title need to go through Schwartz?
That I can't answer.
You know, it just seems like there's something shady. I'm sorry, I just.
Well, none of us,
feel like
we've
No,
been accused of being crooks up there, but I don't think we are, I mean. But,
Well, no, but I'm just
Right,
saying,
yeah.
it does seem that, and with the two 929s and stuff, it just all seems shady.
Whatever, since you're having your meeting tomorrow, I would tell them just what you told us.
Oh,
That's
well,
my
I
suggestion.
don't know who's gonna be there, I don't even know if we're gonna go.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, anyway, I just wanted to say
And
that.
if you're not happy with it, don't sign it. That's my,
I know, but it's just like, are they gonna sign it anyway, and,
you don't have to sign anything. So I would say if you don't sign an agreement, then there's no agreement. That would be my guess, but I'm not a lawyer.
yeah. I just don't trust a few people, so.
Well, thank you. Mindy?
Okay, before the last council meeting, a councilman told the public that the land swap Lynn Amaker property deal was going to be tabled since the paperwork was not finished. As I understand it, Lynn's lawyer was also told the same thing and was not present at the meeting. That was the reason I wasn't here at the last meeting. As it turned out, the paperwork was finished a few hours before the meeting, and the ordinance voted on and passed with a closing date to be December 17th. Did any of you have time to read and study this paperwork?
Yes. And here's,
Okay,
since
I'm
I'm
not
the council,
finished.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In my opinion, a member of the council told a citizen and Lynn's lawyer that the issue would be tabled. It should have been tabled. It should not have gone on. And I believe that the way this was voted on was a cowardly act, and if not illegal, it was very unethical.
Are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay. I assume you're indicating me. So you don't know.
I know.
Okay, I'm
I'm
assuming
not
you mean
naming
me.
names.
Okay. I contacted a member of the public because she had been very concerned about what was going on. I called to fill her in on the deal that Lynn and Mr. Dalbert had come to on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
After she finished reading me the riot act, and telling me how horrible I was. I again told her that I was just trying to tell her what the deal was. Said it was agreed on yesterday. The lawyers only had Monday to deal with it. I didn't know if it would be. I never said tabled. I never said anything like tabled. All I said was, I don't know if it will be or not. But I said, we all know how fast lawyers move, so I didn't think that it would be done in time.
Okay,
That's all I said. And so then when I got here and received the paperwork, I had time to either work on the paperwork and make sure that the deal that Lynn had agreed to with Mr. Delbert, that was there on paper, or I could have called everybody. And I didn't even think that through. My first thought was making sure Lynn was being taken care of. I read through it. The only difference was that one paragraph, and we talked to our lawyers, and they confirmed that it was being taken care of. So there was nothing cowardly about it. I wasn't trying to hide anything. I was very sorry that more people weren't here.
A lot of people would like to have been here to
I understand that, but
discussion. I have
since
a couple more questions. for
okay,
you.
well let me finish this one first, since
Alright.
you brought it up. Since deals had been pulled back from Lynn in the past that he had wanted, that's what he had told me, that there was a deal in the past that he liked that had been taken away from him. And I was concerned that that could happen as well. So that was part of the reason that I didn't want this to breathe, since he liked this deal, is what he told me, and this is what he wanted.
You know,
So if that was incorrect, I
You don't like
apologize,
the
but
deal?
that's what we wanted to do.
I've always just said it's basically acceptable. As
he's
in-
accepting the deal because you guys have a lot more money to fight him than he does to fight you.
He
Or
told you
fight
his
Schwartz.
lawyer's opinion. He can't fight Schwartz and you. So
He
he better
doesn't
take the
have a-
best deal you put on the table.
The other thing,
I don't
I
think you understand that.
have
We
another
want-
question for you
we-
Go ahead,
guys.
Mindy.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
When was the last time executive session or closed session minutes were reviewed and released? It's supposed to happen every 6 months. When was the last time it happened?
I don't know about
I
that.
haven't released them because we've been working on this for over a year. So I haven't brought them to the council because we've been working on the same subject for over a year.
But
Can't
it's still
release them.
supposed to be go through the act of reviewing, releasing what's releasable. And there's other things you guys have worked on that may not be tied into this, but that is the state law.
Okay, thank you. We'll review that. I didn't.
And also the money thing, Lynn doesn't have the money to fight Mr. Schwartz and you guys. So he's taking the best possible deal he could possibly think that you guys might have to offer. It's probably not any good for him, but you're breaking him. That's not right.
I don't know. I really shouldn't say anymore. If you're not happy, I'm not happy. That was the council's goal, was to make you happy. And if you're not happy, then don't go along with it.
I have a question for you. And you only. Were you pressured? Do you feel you were pressured?
Yeah.
That's all I can say is, if you don't want to sign it, don't sign it. Because I thought that we would done what we could to make you happy, and we would like to see a new Casey store. We have plans of a drugstore going into the old Casey store. But if you're not happy, I wouldn't do it.
Well, there's still, there could always still be the issue of giving me that portion of the street.
I can say, as
Yeah.
far as the, whatever you want to call it, the property lines,
Uh-huh.
I don't know anything about that. If you're not happy with it, don't go for it. Because I have not seen or walked it myself. That's all I can say. So that, now it's up to you. And there's no pressure here. Nobody's getting mad at you. I know Pat hasn't. If you're not happy, don't do it.
Okay. But what would happen if I don't?
We can't do anything to you. What can we do to you?
Well, I
We're
didn't
not
know.
gonna take you out back, nobody's gonna take you out back and shoot you or anything.
No, I was thinking, well, would you still go off the deal with having,
I don't imagine there will be a deal. And we're not just, legally, what I've been told is we don't have to do anything. We can just go and do it, but we don't want to do that. We wanted to make you happy. So if you're not happy, am I wrong?
No, you're exactly. I spent 2 hours on my birthday talking with you and Mr. Dollar, and that was only because I was trying to make sure that you had something that you were wanting.
Can I ask you another question? Through this, were you thinking maybe it's kind of weird that I'm having to fly back the yard if you're thinking maybe it's coming to me for that?
Yeah.
For that?
I think it's crazy that you have to buy this back.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that's what we.
I don't think you should have
See,
to
we
buy
didn't
it.
have any, we weren't involved in the negotiation.
We
I personally
know
know.
that. We know that.
So, what I'd have done, I can't tell you what I would have done.
The way
Well, I think the whole thing is, you know, I didn't find out about it until some city employee told me. I mean, I wasn't brought in here and sat down and said, here's what we're doing with this, which I think I should have been in the beginning and everything. I don't think I have to ask. I think there's certain things that, you know, you get elected, you come in here, you sit down, we'll tell you what's going on here, what we're got going on. Here's how I would have responded back after I thought about it a little bit. First of all, we didn't like it in the first place. I don't think we should be closing streets. But if I were to close that street, or to go, one thing I would go along with is that I would say yes to Jim, because I think Jim's going to ask every council that comes in here, every new mayor, about closing that street. And I don't blame him, and I have nothing against him for that. I think that's fine. I'd do the same thing if I was in his position. But I would, as a councilman, I would say, okay, maybe we'll look at closing it for your lifetime. When you're gone, it reverts back to a street, and your estate pays for it. Now, I don't think that's an unfair thing to him. He wants to see it while he's alive. He doesn't want to look at that the way it is right now. And to bring that back after he's gone, because I don't know what's going to happen to the property. I mean, we don't really know that yet, and it wouldn't make any difference, you know. But I would, that's something I would be in favor of if it were to brought up to if you want to close the street, okay, but we're going to. And I've mentioned that to other people, and they said, no, that's not such a bad idea, you know. Yeah, close the street during this time, and then when he's gone, you know, maybe even when his sister's gone too, then we'd have to wait that long. So it could be several years, or maybe nobody in this room would ever see that day ever come. Maybe you wouldn't then, but
Yeah.
I won't. But the street would come back to the city.
The other issue though is the problem is the street is 70 feet wide. 32 feet of that is my yard.
That is
That's-
what
It's
It's that wide.
it's so
street.
many feet, and it's different throughout the town. Why, I don't know.
Yeah, for some reason they made it 70 feet. And my lawyer, even at the beginning, we were just asking, well, if we can get to the quarter of the road from the city, like we should be with vacation, we're fine with that. We're good, we're happy, kind of thing. But city came, or the lawyers that came back, and I think it was your guys, said, well, we had to work out something with Swartz, because he's getting the whole thing. So that's where it's been kind of the weird back and forth kind of been going on. Because really there should have been, I don't see there should have been any need for all this back and forth if you guys own the street next year, vacating the street, not trading the street.
I don't have any
Yeah, that-
orders.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Holt, enlighten us, please.
Well, as Lynn said, I mean, I started working a story, and anyone who happened to read the paper knows it just went on forever, because the more I got into it, the more there was uncovering. And then Lynn's question, he called me saying, your story's wrong. I'm buying the street for $10,000, I'm not buying an easement for $10,000. And that's where the two versions of the ordinance thing came in. Because both of them are marked 929. Okay, they're both marked 920. Now, they're not official yet because, you know, they're not signed because they haven't met the qualifications. So that's just an internal paperwork issue, but I'm not sure, given the fact it's distributed to the public, you got to check on that, as you said, okay?
Sure.
But at this point, I think there's a lot of other issues coming up that I've learned since I really started some in-depth research on this. It started with really a simple question I had. And that I first called Larry on Friday, and then I just kind of referred to the mayor, and then when we hit the kind of legal questions, I eventually referred to the city attorney. And the very simple question I had was if you guys, and I'm not sure how much you've been briefed on it from your attorney, but if you look at your contract that goes with this ordinance, your contract, they're really explicit. They go through almost a legal education saying why the city doesn't own this street. okay? And it gets down to the fact that, you know, in 1873, when Dora Herrick dedicated this, you know, the addition, you know, or set it out and then dedicated the streets, it says there's no record, that's key, there's no record. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but there's no record that the DeWitt County Commissioners accepted the streets as public property. Just like we do now at Township or the city, you accept a subdivision street and then you take it over, okay? That, they can't find the record for that. And a lawyer, we all agree on this. If that's the procedure, the case law he cites, which is Ryerson, it's a really, really old case. One of the first ones, okay, from the dates. I haven't found it yet because it's not online. You've got to go to a book and find it, okay? But we all agree, per that criteria, if it wasn't accepted, and they call that express acceptance, where they passed a resolution or made a vote and it's recorded, you don't own it. You just have a right to use it. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but in the contract that you guys approved as part of that ordinance it's referred to, you actually declared as a city, you don't own the street. Okay? Now my question is, how many of you understood you were doing that? Because what I learned, because I passed all this by a lawyer the newspaper has for, and he goes, well, wait a minute, there's another doctrine out there. Because I guess it was pretty common that boards didn't always do everything they're supposed to do back then, or ever. And he goes, there's another doctrine the court has. It's called implied acceptance. And you read the cases, and my question to you guys is, have you been briefed on implied acceptance? That's your right. They may not have truly voted, the county commissioners may not have voted in 1873, which I find surprising since Dora Herrick's husband was an attorney. And she had 3 sons that were attorneys, and one of them was the Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court. I can't believe they didn't follow the procedure, but possibly they did. Or maybe we just lost the records, you don't know.
And this was in 1873?
Yeah, 1873, okay?
I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, so I mean, but if you go with the assumption of, you can't find the records, you're going to go with the Ryerson, you didn't have express acceptance. Do you know you had an option called implied acceptance? And implied acceptance, the court puts out the criteria. You have to show by your actions that you actually felt you own the street. Did you use it for public property? Did you develop it? Did you build it? Okay. Did you collect taxes on it? Because if you collected taxes on the street, that's pretty much a condition. You think the original party still owned it because it was private property. The other one, which we developed, is you buried utilities on the street. You did not go back to the Herrick heirs and ask for an easement to bury those utilities. You thought you had a perfect right to bury those utilities. And in fact, I'll remind you, just a few months ago, Mr. Schwartz came to you. He wants to bury the power line, right? He did not just walk in and say, I own the street, I'm going to bury it. He asked your permission. So Mr. Schwartz, just a few months ago, took action which pretty much implied he knew you owned the street. So my question to you guys, have you been briefed, and did you make a policy choice to say, we don't own the street? Because after 140 years...
Are you asking me personally?
No.
Well, I mean, this is kind of rhetorical. This is something you guys should actually have been aware of. You should have been asked. You got a choice here. Do you want to go and say you don't own the street because we can't find the record where the county actually accepted it for you? Or do you want to go under this implied acceptance where you do own the street because you've been using it for 140 years? You had that choice. And as alderman, were you given that choice of how to configure this contract and how to configure this land swap deal with Schwartz? Because that was one of the options you should have had presented to you.
We should have that from who?
Your attorney.
Our attorney should.
I mean, there's 2 options on this law. Obviously, express acceptance and implied acceptance, and that would determine, do you own the street? Do you want to make that case? And you might say, fight that fight. We do own the street because we've been taking care of it for 140 years. And so the law is clear, we get it. Now somebody could challenge you, the Herrick heirs could challenge you, but you don't have they settled her estate in 1935. You had the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and 2 other lawyers in the family. One of them was executor. Nobody came and made a claim that this was part of her estate and it's distributed to her kids, okay? So it's pretty clear the Herrick family considered this to be city property. And it's pretty clear for 140 years, the city has considered this city property, used it, modified it, built a street, buried utilities, did everything they wanted to. And it's pretty clear Mr. Swartz just a few months ago asked your permission to bury utilities. Okay? So even he considered it city property. So my question is, at what point and who made the decision in this contract to suddenly say it's not city property? And when I asked that question to the mayor and Larry, I referred to the attorney, and when I asked that question to the attorney, he didn't answer it. He came back with the classic response of any good politician that doesn't want to answer something. He gave me an answer to a different question. He said, well, because I said, if you don't, I added, if you don't own the street, how can you give it to anybody? And his answer to that question was, well, Mr. Swartz has bought all the abutting lots on the east side, and therefore he gets the street. I said, wait a minute, just because you buy a lot, you don't buy any title to the street in front of it. And that's where he just said, I'm not going to argue with you. So, it's a case where, and as a reporter, we get this all the time. When you corner somebody and they don't want to answer the question, they give you a different answer. They give you an answer to a different question, or they do that. I'm not talking to you anymore. Okay? But I think there's some real policy and legal choices that this council had a right to make. And I never saw this council making those choices in the meeting. Okay? Now, if you look at, then we got into some other legal problems. Okay? If you really look at this contract and the ordinance, my attorney said, it's a really slickly put together document. Because the ordinance is 4 pages, 2 pages, actually 2 I think, and it references a long old contract that explains what you're doing, why you don't think you own the street. So when someone in the future looks at this ordinance, they probably won't go back and look at the explanation why you suddenly decided you didn't own the street. But if you look at it, and you can talk to Larry, you can talk to your attorney, you should, in the first part, it references the contract. And if you go to that contract, in that section, there's a real education piece for everybody about why the city is saying we don't own the street. And it's really because the commissioners supposedly didn't accept it. Then you go to the back page of the contract, and you make a statement. You order the city staff to issue title to the vacated street to Millennium Park Limited. And my direct question was, how can you legally, without committing fraud, give someone title, have them assume they have title to a property that you admit earlier in the same document you don't even own? You open up a can of legal worms for Mr. Swartz to come after you, for Lynn to come after you, for the public to come after you. These things need to be resolved. Because my attorney said, question, how could any attorney draft a document and declare 2 ownerships within the same document and have a public official sign it and approve it? What was the intent? Why did they do it? Because it is just, it's in writing right in front. You're trying to defraud somebody. And I don't think any of you actually were trying to do any of that. But that's what's put in writing. And that's the allegation that my attorney said should be investigated. Because you're trying to give title to something you just declared you don't know.
We definitely have a lot of questions to ask our attorney here now. Thank you. That's very good points. Yeah, thank you.
Can I make one comment?
Very quickly, because we need to move on.
I just want to let you know, there's more than this street in the Herrick's edition.
Yeah, it involves all West Street.
If you give up west, saying you don't own it, you're giving up green and everything that
Right.
goes with it.
Yes, what you did is you declared you don't own any of those streets. And actually, the Herrick heirs on those streets. And there's probably 30, 40, who knows how many after 3, 4 generations. It
Saves
is
a lot of money on asphalt then.
It is a money. Well,
I'm just kidding.
I know, realistically, I think if you guys were presented with that option of the 2 ownership choices, as you said, as Willard said,
Right.
140 years, it's our street.
Right.
But I'm guessing you guys were never presented with that option.
No, we were told that that land belonged to the lot to the east, and
Well,
how it
that's
worked.
not even,
And I understand now based on what you're
check
saying.
on that because,
So
you
we
know,
need to check on that,
the
definitely.
issue is,
Yeah.
that's where the real fraud comes in. You are
Yeah.
denying Mr. Amaker the fact.
And we need to get into
Yeah,
it.
there's
So
also
we'll
another
get
issue you
into
need to be aware of, what's called a private easement.
it.
Your stipulation in that contract is you have what's called a public easement, because it was never accepted. You're saying you have a public easement, you don't own it. And in that sense, I agree with your attorney, and my attorney agrees with your attorney. If you vacate your public easement, the public has no more right to use that street. But any abutting lot owner who bought their lot knowing a dedicated street was next door, either through a public easement or whatever, they still have a private easement right to use that street, to have it available, to have it, you know, not ripped up, not removed, and that would accrue to both Mr. Schwartz and Mr. Amaker. And even if you vacate yours and the public's right to go down there, you cannot vacate Mr. Schwartz or Mr. Amaker's right, because you only control the public's right. But if you can imagine Mr. Amaker trying to defend his right to use that street against Mr. Schwartz, it's really not a level playing field. And I think you're charged with trying to keep a level playing field in things that you're involved with.
I wouldn't sign a thing.
Thank you, Dick. All right, that's all of the public comment. Move on to the consent agenda. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
So moved. Or second.
Cindy?
Hardin,
Yes.
Hahn,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
Pearl.
Really waiting a while. No unfinished business. Move on to section 3, which is new business.
I make a motion that we approve 2000-13 TIP 1 grant to the Farmer City Market 404 South Main Street.
I'll second. Discussion?
We just had this meeting at 5 o'clock tonight. It was the soonest that we could get the committee all rounded up. The grocery store down there wants to do a major remodel. There hasn't been any work done to that building for a long time. And the coolers are just killing them on repairs. Basically what this TIF grant would allow would be painting on the interior, painting on the exterior, new signage throughout the store, new coolers, walk-in coolers, produce coolers, meat coolers, 2 new doors. So it's an extensive overhaul. They're trying to get a label back onto the building. Hopefully they can get that accomplished as well.
Any discussion, any questions? Paul?
Hahn,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Read the long one, Nick.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, and/or performance of specific employees pursuant to the Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
McKinley,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Hahn,
Yes.
motion carried.
We're now in executive session. Now it's ready for other items, which is the city manager report.
Okay, well, we're experiencing some motor difficulties at the lift stations again. We've had a couple that dropped out on Depot Road. Seems really that the issue there is that those motors have been rebuilt so many times they just literally wore out. Those went down just a couple weeks ago. The light crew was out there and helped pull those out. Fortunately, they did have a backup that they could put back in there. There wasn't any damages reported to anybody else's property when that lift station went down, like it happened before. We're going to be issuing a letter and mail that out to past due accounts. You know, we changed the ordinance where we could use a collection agency to go after some past due accounts. But what we're going to do is we're going to send out a letter, kind of last ditch effort here before we turn those over to collection agencies. And also, Judy Barger Pinka's office will help us collect on past due accounts as well. What she will do is when you file your income taxes, if there is an outstanding bill owed to the municipality, she will deduct that from your tax return. So we're going to go that route too. I think there's a small fee attached to that, very minimal fee. On here, of course, I was telling you about the TIF meeting that was scheduled for tonight, 5 o'clock. December 19th, there will be the city party up here for the employees. If you get an opportunity to come up and say hi to everybody, grab a sandwich, and that's about it.
That's Thursday, isn't it?
Yes. I'll be here at council chambers.
This Thursday?
Yes, sir.
I'm born on the 9th. Next year.
Any questions to the city manager's report? All right, move on to non-agenda items and other business. Looking at the, been talking to a couple business owners about the commercial rates and just trying to look at that again, so I'll be presenting that here sometime soon, on just some ideas on that. That's all we got, so entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
McKinley?
Yes.
Harden?
Yes.
Vaughn?
yes.
Motion carries.